Hello everyone. On this channel you will find spirituality merged with psychology. And isn't that wonderful? It's such an exciting time to be alive, where these two wonderful tools to connect to something larger than ourselves are available and emerging to help us all connect to stillness, the intelligence within that stillness, to dissolve stress, to have a deeper understanding of how powerful we actually are. Because that's what spirituality is. Spirituality, it's about reconnecting ourselves to something unbounded, something magnificent, something timeless, something show-stopping, something so incredible beyond words, beyond imagination, beyond feelings, beyond thoughts, beyond the body. And that's who we all are. It's the inescapable essence of everything and who we are. So we're all spiritual. And so when we're trying to heal any disorder in the mind, any pain emotionally, we have to go back to our home. And that place which is unbounded is our home. We take these bodies temporarily to have a human experience, but the idea that we're human, why is that? Why do you think you're human? Yes, for a split second, but where were you before you had a body? You were unbounded consciousness. So spirituality is who we are. It's inescapable. And so when some people say, oh, I'm not spiritual, maybe you're thinking it's got to do with some religious practices, and they have their beauty and their place, and they can be a bridge to that unbounded place, but you really don't need a middleman. Especially now in today's society, we don't need middlemen necessarily unless we feel like inclined to using them. We all can have a direct connection right now, this very minute, with the essence of who we are. There was a time where maybe there was a requirement to do a lot of sadhana, a lot of spiritual practices, a lot of efforting, but I don't see it now. I think even the suffering in society or within ourselves, within the suffering, if we go into it without being in our headspace, it can be transmuted into a direct connection with everything. So there's nothing that cannot be used for spiritual awakening, for reconnection. Everything's useful. Every emotion is useful. Every interaction with any human or animal or entity is useful. Everything's useful, even if we don't like the interaction. Well, why don't we like the interaction? The emotions that it gives us contain insights if we dive into them. So it's just a really exciting time to be alive. And then we also have so much happening in the therapeutic fields, in the therapy and psychotherapy and psychology, a deeper understanding of the mind and how to heal from trauma. And if you're combining the two, because they both want to relieve us of our suffering, and an intellectual understanding and tools is very helpful, and maybe some spiritual connection and practices is very helpful. They combine, and then bang, off we go. So it's not one or the other. It's like, his and hers creates a baby. We've got a baby now. Um, so it's a new birth, it's a new beginning, and I'm really excited about it. And I feel so privileged to be at the cutting edge of this new movement, which combines spirituality and psychotherapy. Myself, I'm an advanced meditator, a meditation expert, a siddhar. I'll do videos on what that is. And also hypno-psychotherapist who's run a private practice for over, a long time. I've been on my journey with the mind after exiting the film industry for over 10 years now. So combining spiritual awakenings throughout my life, having lived a crazy life in the film industry, connection with animals, everything else, combining it all, using it all to be able to help both myself and the world. And everybody, no matter what they do, can be of service. If you're a musician, you realize your connection to your source. Your music can touch people and heal you and heal the world. If you're a doctor, same thing. If you're working in a supermarket and you're a cashier and you recognize how powerful you are, your smile, that's all it can take to make somebody else's day. So there's no hierarchy here. There's not one person that's more spiritual than another. And you're not in charge, because the universe will just give us jobs to do. We don't even get to decide. I mean, I worked in the film industry and I thought I'd always be in the film industry. Cosmic intelligence decides to use me in a different way, and I get a huge urge to then leave the film industry, much to my horror, because that was not what I'd predicted, and then to go and meditate. That wasn't part of the plan. I wanted to do more films. And so there was a struggle for a while. I wasn't in charge. And so it's like the universe kind of scans and then it decides, oh, that person will get that job done. Okay, there's Aruna, and she's good with communication and emotions, and she's played characters, and she knows what it's like to step inside the shoes of other people. Well, maybe we'll just repurpose all of that, sprinkle a little stardust on it, and then, off she goes. Unconventional yogi. And you never know on your spiritual journey the twists and the turns and how your life's going to unfold. And everything in your life is beautiful and useful. Every breakup, every joy, every sorrow, every challenge, everything is useful. It all contains information, and we always have a connection, whether it appears through the stress in our body that we don't have a connection. We always have a connection with something greater than the mind, because we are greater than the mind. And that's why I love the meditation practice, because the mind and the thoughts and all that just seems to go further into the distance. And that can happen over time when you meditate twice daily. You just get so detached from the nonsense in the mind. And even working psychologically with people outside of meditation practice, even the content within the mind, if we journal it, has information in our wounding and maybe voices that were repressed that need to come out and heal wounds. We can go into that with trained professionals, or get support. And so the universe is always communicating to us through our emotions and through our thoughts and through our meditation practice what stress is there to dissolve. And when we dissolve the stress, we can really know how powerful we are. And when we are stuck in a stressful place, it does dissolve in its own time with patience and non-judgment and compassion. And then we reconnect again. So on our spiritual journey, it can feel like we're connected to our spirituality, and then we disconnect, and then it can appear that we're disconnected and connected, disconnected and connected. There can appear to be a fluctuation, but that's only on one level. We never actually disconnect. We're always connected, even though we think we're not. So you can't escape it. You're always spiritual. You're always connected. You're always communicated with in subtle and not so subtle ways with an unbounded cosmic intelligence that is pure love, acceptance, bliss, consciousness, and beyond. And the deeper you go, the more you realize that, and it takes away any fear of death or temporary sadness or right or wrong or confusion. And so that's really beautiful. And we can all awaken spiritually at any moment in time. And we can awaken when we're tying our shoelaces. We can awaken when we're doing the washing up. We can awaken when we're just dusting the house. It's not like we need to be in a church or doing some formal practice to awaken, because the vibe is so high. If it's your time, it's your time. If the universe decides to move you into a more unbounded awareness, off it'll go and boom. And sometimes we think that it's going to be lights, or Jesus is going to appear, or something magnificent is going to happen. And that's not the case. It can be subtle, and it can be not so subtle, and it can be different for different people. And it's unique to your journey. For me, a lot of my earlier spiritual experiences happened with animals and looking into the eyes of animals. And I knew something was happening to my physiology and my heart space and my perception. I couldn't put it into words. Sometimes it was subtle, sometimes not so much. But sometimes I'd get very emotional and I would start to cry, not tears of sadness, but tears of awe, because it felt like when I was looking into the eyes of the animal that I was looking into the eyes of source, and it was reconnecting me to that unbounded powerful place. And the eye of the animal was like a portal into that space. And certain animals just seemed to blow my mind, show-stopping stillness, especially snakes. I had one experience in particular where I looked into the eyes of a snake, a python, crying. My whole body was wet with tears, and just portal. Snakes are like spaceships. They take you to another place. They show you how powerful you are. And I'm very lucky because I'm not afraid of snakes. And so I can look into their eyes, and they've been gifted to me this lifetime as portals or spaceships into an unbounded dimension of reality, and they are very, very high vibe. When I interact with them, I mean, my prefrontal cortex really there's a lot going on. So I will be posting videos about snakes and with snakes on this channel, and maybe you feel inclined to watch them, maybe not. If you have a phobia, well, maybe we can overcome it through hypnotherapy. But once you overcome your fear, or you drop into your fear and don't run away from it, there you go. So that's something to look forward to. And my mum was always concerned because whenever we were in India, I'd run up to snakes and she would always like, so stop her from doing that. But it was just for some reason, I think it's because of my lineage that reveres snakes. I was just born with this attraction to snakes. And this is coming back to how your spiritual journey is unique to you. Mine involves snakes and animals. Yours could involve having a baby and bringing up that child and being devotional to that child, and your heart space opening and that creating a massive explosion in consciousness. Anything that is awe-inspiring, if you're hiking and you go to the top of mountains and you see a view and you feel so small and there's something so big, that can create an explosion of consciousness. Astronauts often have experiences of this when they are in space and they look at the Earth and it's so tiny, and that can create explosion, like, oh my god, my body's just this dot, this kind of irrelevant little dot, but there's something much bigger, there's something much more unbounded, and it can withstand anything. And in the Bhagavad Gita and in spiritual texts, nothing can wet it, nothing can destroy it, nothing can touch it, it's untouched. And it's always available to us. And we can connect to it now in so many original, fun, creative ways. We don't, unless we want to or we feel inclined to, have to go to church or to do specific practices. We can imagine a candle, or we can physically light a candle. Physically lighting a candle is very powerful because fire can house a lot of non-physical intelligence and non-physical beings, and an unlimited amount can be in the candle. But now the vibe is so high, even just visualizing a candle would probably do it. Yeah, I mean, I know there seems to be a lot going on in the world, but that's because the world's de-stressing. Whenever you raise the vibe, all of the stress that's in the system has to exit. And so even though it might seem like very chaotic, it's exiting. Everything's exiting. So we can actually remember how powerful we are. So you can visualize a candle. You can, if you feel like it, choose your God, something you're devotional to, and it'll be different for different cultures and different people. One culture or one person might choose Jesus, because Jesus represents that all-knowing cosmic intelligence. For somebody else, it might be a picture of the universe. For somebody else, it might be a guru or a teacher. For somebody else, it might be their pet. For somebody else, it might be their child. For somebody else, it might be a picture that creates an awe. There's no right or wrong here. There's no route that's more spiritual than another route. Just choose. You get to choose. You're the universe having an experience as you, which will never be repeated, and you get to be creative and you get to decide what your spiritual practice looks like. So, I could have a picture of a snake. That might be horrifying for some of you. A cobra, eyes of the cobra, and I can look into the eyes of the cobra and I can imagine lighting a candle or visualize a candle, and then I can set an intention to have an answer to a certain question, or I can give something that I'm struggling with to the cobra and allow the cobra to dissolve it for me. And this is kind of a bridge to that unbounded. And at one level of consciousness, we may feel that we need a bridge, like a middleman. So the cobra is a middle man or woman. The picture of Jesus is a middleman or woman, or whatever you want. The picture of a plant, it's just a way of placing your attention there, and then it ricochets to the unbounded. Placing your attention on your object of devotion, and then it connects. But the vibe is so high that for some people, they may not even need to do that. And at certain points in your spiritual journey, the bridge collapses. And that can feel a bit strange. So for instance, in my spiritual journey, I was not originally interested at all in Indian gurus. I was, I did spend time in India, but I also spent a lot of time in the West, and I really wasn't interested in the gurus or anything like that, until I had an experience of looking at an image of an Indian guru, Brahmananda Saraswati, and the eyes lighting up and it ricocheting me off. I mean, it's a whole experience. And the picture was alive. And then once that happened, my life was kind of no longer my own. And it reminded me of the snake too. So I became very devotional to that particular guru, and I would cry a lot, and I would be so filled with bliss and awe, and my mind's like, Aruna, what are you doing? But it was just unavoidable. And so when people bow down in a ritualistic way, that's one form of devotion. But where that bowing down actually comes from is this awe-inspiring moment where that object that we've placed our attention on fills us with so much gratitude for reminding us of the show-stopping reality that they are and that we can just collapse. And that's where bowing down actually comes from. And this went on for about 4 years, where I would collapse a lot and cry a lot. And if I did a guru puja or did anything, lighting a candle with the image of the guru or putting my attention on the guru, this is not mood making. This is real for some people. And that actually went away. The bridge collapsed at a certain point. And that was felt lonely for a while, because you feel that you have your spiritual master taking care of you, and then he or she vanishes, and then you're on your own. And that's very interesting. But they come into your life when you need the bridge, when you think that you're not as powerful as you are, and you feel that other people have the power that you don't, that the guru, for example, is compassionate, the guru's all-knowing, the guru's patient, the guru's non-judgmental. But little me, can't be that way, so I need something external to myself to worship. But whatever we're putting our attention on is reflected back. So we're putting our attention on those attributes we perceive in that spiritual master. But then they become imbued within us. And they always have been there. And then the bridge collapses, and then we're kind of feel like we're on our own. And that's part of the integrating process, and that's part of the spiritual process. And so sometimes when I'm with clients, I will suggest that they choose a bridge, and their bridge can be Jesus, bridge can be Muhammad, their bridge can be anything that opens their heart space. And that can be used on a daily or weekly basis to remind them of who they are, to reconnect them with who they are. And we are all powerful beyond our imagination. Nobody isn't powerful. It doesn't matter whether you're a yogi in the Himalayas, whether you're sweeping the streets, whether you're a single mom looking after kids, whether you're the president of the United States, whether you're, dying and sick in hospital, whether you're losing your mind and you have dementia. We all are powerful, and we all are beyond what we appear to be. Because even if we appear in the relative world as a mom, or as a street sweeper, or as a president, that's only a tiny bit of actually who we are. And that's part of a storyline, and we bounce into each other, and we interact, and we awaken each other, and we pressurize each other into awakening, sometimes in uncomfortable ways, and we play little roles, and we get given things to do which we don't even choose or understand, and we interact with each other. But no matter what's being, appears to be going on in the relative, and it's all like a funny little game, it's tiny. And so when we spiritually awaken, we can connect to people beyond their storyline, beyond what they're doing, beyond their trauma, beyond what they appear to be in their physical bodies. We can just see, looking into people's eyes, their transcendental quality. It's not a quality, but it's just every eye that you look, or every pair of eyes you look into, is a portal into that. And so sometimes psychics will use photographs and looking into eyes. Eyes are portals. Well, that's what I've noticed. And so even looking into the eye of this camera is like a portal. And so I just wanted to share that, and to remind you of how powerful you are, and what a wonderful time it is to be alive, and that you're spiritual and you can't escape being spiritual. And I hope you enjoy the content on the channel, which merges spirituality with psychology and is aimed to help return everybody back to calm. Take care.